Hello and a warm welcome to the audience. My name is Anja Gale, founder of Spot, and it is my pleasure to present the Heimtextil Trends 21-22 for you. But first, a few words about Spot, who has been undertaking the role as lead agency for the Heimtextil Trend Concept 21-22. So this is I and this is Spot, where I work with turning trends into business for both Scandinavian and international lifestyle clients. This comes into various products, from trend inspiration, as you see here, with colors and trends, directions for where the lifestyle industry is going, over to concept design, where we start from scratch and creating new designs and new concepts. I also represent boards and advisory councils, do project management like the case of Heimtextil, and also do customer analysis, going deep into what it is and why customers are actually buying what they do, and then matchmaking that into trends. This is also something that I will touch upon when we go through the trends of Heimtextil 21-22. And finally, it also comes into concrete product development for clients, where we look at the trends and then we look at the product line that a client has, and then we develop what could be new textile series, as you're viewing here, for kids interiors, or it could also be decor and product for the lifestyle industry. So this is what I do here out of Denmark. So again, a warm welcome to you, and we'll head over to looking at the Heimtextil Trends 21-22. I will give an introduction also to the overall theme of the season, which is nothing new, everything new, and then going further deep into colors, trend stories, and keywords. For the time being, we're looking at a time and a future that has been rewritten for both the planet, the people, and products we're looking into, of course, due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We're seeing that this crisis has left us with a new way of looking at people, with new ways of looking at different perspectives. But we're also seeing that the first decades of the millennium delivered several crises, but as well game-changing innovations. So out of crisis comes innovation, and this post-pandemic world will most likely follow suit. So we're seeing that some of the projections for the future within the home and hospitality area and industries, that we see a more nature-based outdoor life and a more digital-based indoor life. We see that urbanization may change due to digital access and availability increases. The physical world may become more local, and as the global become more digital, and travel becomes more exclusive. And we're also seeing that customers' emotional satisfaction might depend more on transformation and less on commodity and experience. So we're seeing that the interior textile community path will also be rewritten, and many changes to come. And the Heimtextil Trends of 21-22 outline ways of addressing these changes, with trends that both capture the spirit of the future and make way for future business.
We live in a time where nothing is new, and yet everything is new. We see trends that are new, yet familiar. Now is the time for a new perception of new itself. Let's rethink, redo, and remake. Welcome to Nothing New, Everything New.
For many years, the lifestyle industry has asked what is new of the season. Newness and cultural erosion was core drivers of lifestyle products, and the foundation of this began in the 20th century, when shopping shifted from necessity-driven to pleasure-driven, and consumer products were no longer made to last a lifetime. Now we see that these decades of consumption among growing populations has left both consumers and lifestyle businesses with filled archives, storages, and attics and closets of actual usable material. So we're saying that now is time for a new perception of new itself, as both consumers and the industry are beginning to change existing systems and ways of working in different ways. So welcome to Nothing New, Everything New. Under this headline, we have 4 designing color trends for 21-22. With repurpose, rewild, reinforce, and revive, we encourage you to rethink, redo, and remake to reach the next level for viable business in the future. So let's begin with repurpose. Repurpose is more than just a trend. It's a way of changing the product development narrative within the textile industry. It's about giving existing textiles a new purpose while cherishing what already exists. So this theme reinvigorates past textiles by presenting renewed visual expression. So we're seeing that this visual expression focuses on reappropriated curation, heirloom revival, and pre-loved florals for 21-22. The key statement here for repurpose is going from creator to curator. Unlike traditional design process, repurpose starts with considering what can be actually made from existing fabrics rather than the idea or the creative idea. So it wants to give existing textiles new purpose and cherish what is already made, so that we go from just creating to curating, from old to new. The color palette of repurpose consists of harmonious shades with deeper tones and lighter shades with classic pastels, and bridging together this is a warm yellow and soft green. In color combinations, the two are mixed to create textiles with both deep and light nuances. We see that the white tone is either almost absent or actually very dominating. So the colors here are definitely a result of also the resources that we use for repurpose, and that we see that the colors have been had a timeness to it, so that they are been either muted and shaded a little bit and then mixed together in new ways. One of the keywords also for repurpose is reappropriated curation. So repurpose is really inspired by fashion. Specifically the rise in eclectic visual expression. The mix of patterns and colors pave way for the more composed interior designs while inspiring alternative sourcing of materials and textiles. So we see that, for example, the concept of Anne Becker, where new styles are created from existing styles and just re-put together in new ways. So we're taking these maybe big balls and chunks of material and textiles and repurposing them again, putting them together in a new order, making way for these new bold patterns that we also see in interiors. So these sourced textiles and unfinished objects are waiting to be transformed into new textiles, and this can be achieved by using variations of existing textiles in modular design system by applying textile treatments like bleaching or printing new motifs on existing textiles. A great example of this is Studio Simone Post, who does surplus scraps of material, textiles and leathers that we put together in new big blocks of color, creating new patchworks that we're seeing. Or even textile posters, as you're seeing here, with printing motifs of reuse, remake and repurpose on top of it. Another direction for the repurpose trends is heirloom revival. Heirloom textiles with an abundance of pattern and color are cherished again with this curation of a lifetime collection. So these enduring qualities, patterns and colors are reimagined with contemporary styling. So repurpose is really also a great styling trend where we look into the attics and the closets and the storages of wonderful things that are just waiting to be put together with a more modern touch. Pre-loved florals is also where we're looking to for the repurposed trend to create this one. Decades of creation has left us with these abundance of pre-loved things, and the vintage florals of past decades are cherished once more. And all of the textiles that you're seeing here with the repurposed trend has been found from existing materials. Nothing is actually new. So we have this vintage celebration of pre-loved florals and rejuvenated retro approach. We're also looking to usage of textiles in new ways. Textiles that were maybe meant for patchworking could be napkins, or we can create beautiful mood boards for it. So paradoxically, these pre-loved and second-hand resources offer this really rejuvenated expression. For the repurposed consumer, and this is where I go into giving some insights to how we see who will be wanting to purchase and looking into this trend of repurpose. So it is a trend where we see that the consumer of repurpose has strong community values. They are really prioritizing the social, family, and well-being spheres, like building relationship with people and products, and appreciate the visual and sensory stimuli in the home textiles area. So really looking into also something that is more harmonic and has a rather feminine approach in order to be attracted to buying into this trend of repurpose. Going into the next trend, that is rewild. So nature is seen as a lost value, and that has become a driver behind nature-oriented lifestyle trends seen over the past years. But rewild is not just about greening urban living spaces, but regaining a symbiotic relationship to nature. It's about recovering nature's resources and applying them in a modern context, delivering on sustainable or even regenerative solutions. So the visual and textile expressions of rewild focus on directions like nature lab, indigenous wild, and basic living. So the key statement for rewild is going from authentic to genuine. So this whole thing about rewilding is an act of returning nature back to its original wild state. But the rewild trend goes beyond just returning to nature. It's not about making nature authentic, but rather understanding nature's genuine wisdom. Looking to low-tech indigenous engineering, mechanical processed fibers like hemp and linen yarns, natural dyes, and genuine wild expressions is what covers the rewild trend. The color palette for rewild contains genuine nature colors with key tones of greens and browns. The green originate from herbs and plants. The colors are delicate and not necessarily dense and solid, but light and graded. In-between tones feature khaki colors, whereas the greenish blues and the golden orange offer highlight tones. The colors are used in a camouflaging way with tones blending together, which can be in a green or a neutral expression. And this is widely expressed in the textile design by Rebecca Nilsson that you're viewing, these camouflage expressive ways of using the color scale. A humble approach is taken to rediscovery of nature's systems and solutions. The working lab moves into an environment under observation, investigation, how nature's materials can be design objects. As a more sustainable path and developments are followed, alternative sources of textiles are resurfacing together with ideas of how to process them in modern end-user products. These textile sources are not necessarily new, but very familiar, as more resilient sources like hemp, jute, linen, and sisal come back to life. Observing nature's way and creating contemporary design from regenerative materials is what we are looking on here. So Convert, a company working with processing both upcycling and natural materials, are now able to make insulation growth mats and boards out of eelgrass, hemp, and waste material from food production such as cane sugar and feathers. The Pluma Europida is an insulation mat made by surplus chicken feathers from the chicken industry. And even when we're looking to more extreme versions, we're seeing the chair designed by Katrine Barbro of Studio KKB in Copenhagen has made a chair out of animal intestines, where we're using that as a surplus material also from the industry, making that to a design object. Really looking into research and design methodologies that are much more to the regenerative side. Inspired by indigenous living, Rewild showcases lianas, stems and bedding made from straws and roots. Rewild is about mimicking low-tech ways of construction from wild resources, as portrayed in the book Low Tech, Designed by Radical Indigenism by Julia Watson. It's about actually understanding the nature's systems and recopying that in a more modern way. So rudimentary, involving or limited to basic principles, where we're seeing that a rudimentary way of life can inspire a more balanced and regenerative way of living. Hemp as a material is standing out and has been previously used in a chemically extracted way. And now we're seeing that mechanically extracted yarns from fibers have proven useful in interior textiles, as a highly resistant biosource can thrive in varying climate conditions. The pillows and the boards are examples from VA University College, as well as Convert. So we're also seeing that furthermore textiles are looking to these low-tech indigenous engineering, natural dyes and genuinely wild material expressions. Basic living in a modern way. So the raw stitching of these herb-dyed textiles used to create the bed cover by Studio Hochwillet. It is a way of using these natural resources to actually create a very contemporary and modern product. And also on the aesthetic side, with these raw stitches, that we're looking to the ancient crafts again and appreciating that expression that they have. Simple solutions can be found for refurnishing via textiles to make original and wild and rustic materials modern. So we're looking for these basic processes of textile furnishing, or we're looking to these also biotextiles, the sun biotextiles, Bureau Belen, where we are looking to getting the positive side of the rays of the sun, but also screening it from the more harmful side. So they have a UV protection both through the pattern, but also through the textile. That was the rewild trend, and looking into the rewild consumer of who will have a preference for buying into the rewild trend. So the consumer is also very founded in community-oriented values and prioritizes very much well-being in their surroundings. They prefer conceptual, stylish and harmonic visual expressions, and they are a leader when it comes to engaging in a sustainable lifestyle. So they, of course, favor people, products, and communication that focus on the positive. To the third trend of reinforce, the aesthetics and the styling and the colors change, and also, of course, then the consumer. Reinforce is about visual and compositional longevity within textiles and materials. It draws upon inspiration from how Scandinavian design merges design durability with pared back functionality. So textiles focus on longevity, durability and quality, with the option of using discrete pattern or tactility. So therefore, we're also seeing that Reinforce has a simple, bold Scandinavian mood with heavy, honest and minimalistic look. Longevity is a key influence on colors and materials and design. So the key statement for Reinforce is from short-lived to longevity. And it is another path for living a lifestyle with less negative impact on the environment, just solely based on that things last for a longer time, going against this whole high usage of products. And hence making also Reinforce both inspired by and useful for the hospitality sector. For the colors, longevity is a high inspiration, and we are looking to colors that are not necessarily new, but used in a new way, and where we're looking at composition as more the new thing, and hence making relation to the nothing new, everything new overarching themes. So it's colors like buttercream and beige tones, grays, black and nearly blacks that create this tonal color scale of reinforce. The importance is to show nuances within these well-known tones, as they are not just one beige or one grey or one black. There are many tones of them playing well together, creating a pared back, minimal and essential expression. And we also use them in these almost 3 groupings of the bold buttercreams and beiges together. And we're showing off boldness in just using these very light tones. And also a more simplistic tonal layering of variated textiles deliver a strong styling for the reinforce. As you see here, there are also the chair from Warm Nordic called Haven is also a company whose design principles of Scandinavia is to reintroduce longevity design classics, hence making way also for products that look to have a longevity perspective. Going even further with the bold buttercream direction, we see off-white variations, and we see this super strong silence coming through in the styling and the aesthetics of this approach into reinforce. Interesting is also to see this delicate universe actually showcasing super empowered textiles like the self-supporting 3D woven textile by Louisa Nocelle or the bouncing 3-dimensional textiles of Juliette Berthenot. It adds new functionalities and self-dependency to textiles, hence making them strong and not necessarily dependent on being just upholstery for furniture or other various examples of design. Turning over to the grays in the color scale, so this monotonous minimalism. Familiar, calm, resilient, recycled and unpretentious are all the ways of describing the gray colors in reinforce. Used in a monotonous, minimalistic way, they mimic the trend's inspirational sources. Giving way for a very honest and Beethoven brew inspiration that really shows also this compositional strength that we are looking for. So of course there is some associations and inspiration from the whole brutalistic architecture with Beethoven brew, where we were to see the honest surfaces of the architecture and paired back to the function that we're looking for in the buildings that were created. So these tonal grey textiles and durable construction in furniture pieces show both the softness and the reinforced side of these grey colours. Moving over to the blacks. In more recent times, nuances found in black generally has reaffirmed the color's longevity and essential role in design. Particularly in fashion, black tones has been used in almost all categories over a long time, and just making the argument that these tones are made to last long. We're seeing here we also want, of course, within design, a really durable and heavy look in the side table by Noor 11. So these blacks and nearly blacks and black browns create intense yet calm moods when used with a tonal and a total approach. So we really want to layer them, put them together in spacious environments using only subtle textile patterns and surfaces within them. It can be both matte and a little bit more shimmery approaches that we put together, and they are just linked and combined through the tonal color scales of these nearly black. So really essential, monochrome, enclosed dark density is also a very calming universe to look forward to come 21-22. Hence, the reinforced trend has changed also its aesthetic. It also changes the values of the consumer who will have a preference for buying into this trend. So appreciating longevity over new and best over first is really a key point for the reinforced consumer. It's not necessarily about having things first, but more about having the best things that will also last for a long time or has been proven itself over a long time. So they really know that functionality is key, and they are attracted to these trusted and proven colors that we've also put into the reinforced trend. They are particularly loyal and favor only minor updates to existing products, to their line of work where they have, or their line of home to where they are. So the controlled and enclosed expression matches the more introverted personality versus the two other trends that we've had before, and also as opposed to the fourth trend that we are looking into in just a short minute. So the reinforced consumer is really where we're looking to a much more pared back down and less detailed expression, but with focus on durability and longevity. The fourth and final trend of Heimtextil 21-22 is revive. And again, the aesthetic changes also for different audiences, covering very different and four different consumers and categories within this Heimtextil 21-22 trend. Reflecting youthful activism within our present perspective, attitude and behavior toward our world of stuff, revive is an exploration of creativity. It is a trend that is driven by youth moments, relying on colorful, random and simple, yet loud visual expressions. So it really is, revive is to feel, sense and reconnect with human skills. Materials are made out of what's at hand, reviving stuff is in an experimental way and re-educating within skills needed to repair. So this renews products by continuing their life cycle process. And process is the focus of revive. So the key statement here is actually going from focusing on result to focusing on process. With a focus on achieving greater emotional satisfaction through the process of creating rather than on the end result, no rules apply to the mending, processing, learning and experimenting in revive. The colors for revive is also a little bit faded over time, and some mid-toned pink, yellow and reds. But a sweet lavender purple also stands out, together with a deeper teal green and a brown burgundy. So we're really mixing these deep, mellow and bright shades, and the color combinations are bold, mixing all of this in one big out of rule, with freedom just to go where they want to go. So a freedom really to not be bound by any kind of stereotypic ways of putting color together, and just a freedom to mix both almost incognito colors with super brights. This whole thing about being in process is what we are looking to for revive. So it is to take a material and give it shape and revive it. Floor Scribania designer has developed a 3D knitted textile for furniture upholstery. The weave technique makes it stretchable, even though there's no stretchable yarn in it. So no stretch fibers, but it's the whole thing about the technique of how it's made. And this can be used for just upholstery in various furnitures, creating new expressions and putting together new shapes of furniture. And it's also a way of just to try new sources and accept how the outcome may come as part of the process. So the process is design. The design is what we want to see is the process. So we really just want to see these experimental layering. We want to see distorted patterns, which is patterns that are not necessarily fully geometric or fully organic, but something in between. So revive honors this intangible state of flow that occurs while creating, as opposed to focusing on the final object. It's about accepting mistakes and focus on the process instead of the end result. Through endless combinations, textile create the new expressions of new form, and it's showed in the materials made here by Henriette Tillanus, for example, or Anne-Line Bertholds. Almost anything can be repaired, rejuvenated, hacked or sold on. The European Commission has acknowledged the right to repair, making way for new perspectives on stuff consumption with a continuous product loop and life cycle. We're seeing that modern mending is now becoming an act of repair, is now seen as a creative method, according to repair artist Bridget Harvey of Victoria and Albert Museum in London. So we're seeing that this is being taken up by the youth in order to create modern mending, because it represents a way to refresh what is old by making the process an integral feature of the new design, for example, within the studio mend, as we're seeing here. It's about turning unwanted textile scraps into new, like the New Blue by Tim van der Loo and the Lasting Leather project by Studio Simone Post. So mending and repairing becomes a creative method, re-educating younger generations about past common practices. And finally, there is also pure exploration into how textiles and materials can be. Again, the process is the result. Rapid prototyping causes these non-planned results and really appreciate it with its visual expressions. What we're seeing here is exactly rapid prototyping by Via University College of Denmark. The pure exploration into how textiles and materials can be, assemblage and movement can create energetic and ad hoc expressions like we're seeing from Luna Wietsma. Repairing techniques can also inspire experimenting textile design, as we're seeing from Julie Helles Eriksson. Through just a tight scrap of things can make patches and expressions within both the surface and the colors of textiles. The Revive consumer is also, as I have mentioned, drawn towards the younger audiences. They prefer products to be edgy, sensational, and new. And what is sensational and new is what satisfies their infinite curiosity. They have an inclination to try, sense, and feel, and prefers acquiring new skills and taking part in the making process more than gaining ownership. So this is really also a very new direction or a very different direction than some of the other approaches that we had to design. And how I work with also trends and also what has come through the Heimtextil Trends of 21-22 is that you need to navigate these different trends towards your end user and consumer that you have, and choosing which ones will create the more viable business for you come the future. So this was the 4 trends of Heimtextil 21-22. I hope you enjoyed and was inspired by this presentation of it, and it was a pleasure to be able to do this for you. And I wish you a very nice continued day with inspiration. In case you are looking to knowing more, there has been produced a trend book with all of these trends, with further image materials, the color codes, and also the colors to take out and to work even further in your work. So the Heimtextil is able to order on the Heimtextil website. And finally, of course, we're looking forward to hopefully seeing each other physically again when Heimtextil is taking place again from January 11th to 14th of January 22. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.